good afternoon on what is another cold, bright and blustery day. It is Thursday, the 4th of November. I am back in the Reed Nook with a nice hot cup of tea. And of course, a cat who is not ours, but has adopted us, plus some parcels to unbox. So let's get to the first of them, if I can get past the cat, that is. So I've already been into this one, so it's already open, so let's dig out the next interesting thing. Last time round, what I looked at was this, which should have appealed to the nostalgia of a lot of my viewers. Next, if I can just remove the cat from off, come on, off the mag, off, back on my lap. What's in here next is this, which is the Best of Dragon Volume 5, and it's a bit damaged, but that wasn't why I bought it. It's basically for the content, because I want to do a review, because I want to do a series of best of reviews, so best of White Dwarf articles, best of White Dwarf scenarios, and best of dragons. And I think they're interesting because essentially they take the cream of the crop. Basically, they cherry pick the best articles and scenarios and bring them together for readers who've never seen them, or basically because they weren't buying the magazine at the time, and gives them a chance to look at them basically fresh. So, from Out of the Eons, from the Howling Winds of the Ice Age to the Depths of the Astral Plane, this 5th collection of the Best Dragon Dragon magazine brings advanced Dungeons and Dragons game with players and basically the enjoyment of adventuring articles that rank among our best ever. Barbarian cultures, guidelines for wishes, the gods and societies of the humanoids, and ruined cities are explored in detail. The Oracle NPC class foretells the future, and hardy adventurers and dungeon masters may venture into gunpowder-using worlds full of danger and sudden death. Articles are also featured on Critical Hits using the AD&D game system and the creation of instant adventures for any roleplay game. Each article has been re-edited for clarity, and the Astral Plane article contains entirely new material never before published. Even if you have the original issues with these articles, you'll want to get this edition, the best ever printed, from the largest and longest living role-playing periodical Dragon magazine. Pick up a copy and enjoy. So that's all on the back. I've had to work around that rip on the back, but that's not a problem. So this was published in May 1986, and Volume 4 was sort of organised around character types and monsters and articles about rules and settings and so on. This isn't. There's no organisation of chapters. It's a listing of contents. We go straight into it. We've got the introduction, from issue 68. So we're going back a bit further than basically back in sort of like the early 80s, where the same as Volume 4. And this is Volume 5 is the last one, and we've got thrills and chills of adventuring in the Ice Age. Which has sort of like picked up a bit of interest with more recently with games like Worm, which Chaosium has published, and then we've got Encounters for the Pleistocene, so on, and a calendar, and what else have we got? A guide to religion, magic, and modern life. So it's a bit brief, but it basically covers the basics. And we go on to, and then we've got the Oracle. When he talks, everyone listens. It's from issue 53. So this is an this is an NPC class. Basically, I was looking at the illustration. The first illustration, I'm kind of going, it's another great piece of artwork, but at the same time, it's kind of like using cantrips for purposes that weren't intended. It's a bit like James Bond using a magnetic watch to undo the zip of the femme fatale, but here it's basically a sorcerer or wizard using cantrips to pop the buttons on a woman's dress. Not the done thing these days. And then we go into Mind of the Monster, give creatures the brains they were born with. And it's a common enough subject. Essentially, I mean, there are books and books of monsters for Dungeons and Dragons and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and so on. And the thing is, they're not just there to kill. Although ultimately, in some ways, they are, because that's how you get experience points and doing the adventure and gaining money and so on, and go up a level and become heroic and so on. But creatures can be also a bit intelligent too, and basically this is a subject that the magazines like this would return to. And then we've got the Oracle, and we've got Oracle spells, there's a list there. And firearms, and this is by Ed Greenwood, whose name people recognise from the creator of Forgotten Realms. And the first guns, that were fun. Because there's always this sort of thing, sort of like, okay, Dungeons and Dragons, yes, it's sort of like COD medievalism, and then it's sort of like, oh, I can't have a gun. Well, no, you can't have a gun, because it's not the setting, but there are settings where you can have guns. And then, so that came out in 1982, issue 60. 10 issues later, he was doing it again with another volley, smaller guns, this time with better illustrations, as you can see. Past the cat's head. He's no interest in this, of course. He just wants my warm lap. Yeah, and the thing is, there's a nice couple of cartoons here, and I think one of them actually sort of like captures that kind of the reaction to what I was pointing out in the previous cartoon, where you've got the magic user basically taking off the buttons off the woman's dress. In this one, you can see basically the barbarian approaching this other woman, and this is what she's saying. She's saying, not only is it a +2 overcoat, but it protects me from becoming cheesecake. So even then, back in issue 50, we knew the problem with the artwork, and the sort of like, the cheesecake artwork, and essentially the chainmail bikini school of armour that female adventurers were depicted wearing. And then we've got Instant Adventure, basically a big table of to create adventure ideas, modern monsters. Again, this is Ed Greenwood, the perils of 20th century adventuring, and essentially looking at it from playing D&D sort of like as a modern game. Now that really wouldn't happen until you have D20 modern in the noughties, apart from sort of like, the GM's own adventure, which basically nipped off into a portal or time travel or something. But yeah, I mean, we've got more cartoons, and actually one of the things I do like about this issue is they've got is that there is cartoons in here that and therefore gamey humour from the time, and I think that's a nice addition. So, for example, don't say what it was. Don't worry about it. What it says on your shirt. Just charge when I say charge. And again, that's sort of like talking about the whole thing of, you hire. One of the precepts of Dungeons and Dragons is you hire hirelings, and under specific terms, and they fight for you and carry your stuff, and but they're not meant to be cannon fodder. They're meant to be real people. And then again, another common subject we have: how many coins in a coffer? Don't forget, all that treasure takes up space, because I've got 40,000 copper pieces. That's an awful lot of copper. And it's an awful lot of coins. How are you carrying that? And they've got a piece from Brian Bloom. What do you call a 25th level wizard? Whatever he wants. And this is even earlier. So this is actually going back, covering quite a range of the history. It's going back over the past sort of like 10 years or so of the magazine. Ruins, rotted, risky but rewarding. Talking about basically creating and populating ruins. Again, very light on illustration here, apart from the cartoons. Libraries a cure for players who must know it all. Again, great for wizards and sages and the like. You wanted to do the research, and then keep them guessing. Players don't need to know all the rules, so yeah, Ed Greenwood contributes quite a lot of articles in here. And then Catherine Kerr, basically the authoress, Real Barbarians, History offers a different picture from literature. So that's inspiration really for the barbarian, basically the fighter played as a barbarian type background, or the actual barbarian class when it appears, and then Tarsak Showers, give your world its own calendar. Ed Greenwood again, another article, but this again, create your own calendar to give it the sort of a bit of a background. Roger E. Moore, long-time editor for Dragon, the humanoids, all about kobolds, hobgoblins and gnolls, and here we're talking about their gods and so on. A lot of this would obviously go on to appear in the demigods books for the and humanoids books for the second edition. We have a guideline for best wishes, guidelines for giving and getting. And I'm kind of disappointed by the lack of artwork in here. I keep saying that Magic for Merchants, why should players have all the fun, by Leonard Earl of Kafka, basically putting on giving things on the other foot. So basically the player characters turning up and buying things and using their magic when they're trying to buy things, and this is sort of like magic for the other way around. And then spell strategy, how to know what magic an NPC will throw. That's an interesting article, I suppose, because it's basically come up with it. We've been playing through the Lich Way, which is a scenario in White Dwarf, issue 9, and we've been ambushed, and the NPC villain has cast sleep at us. And now, so yeah, and I mean, basically the Game Master chose that because that's probably a most offensive spell, most effective spell, because it is. It wasn't going to go easy on us, and so on. We'll find out what happens next time. But the thing is, it's sort of like, what makes the spell use from a magic user makes them interesting. And then we have good hits and bad hits, accounting for critical hits and fumbles. Something that's not in every version of Dungeons and Dragons, and not in every old school Renaissance retro clone. The Astral Plane, an old favourite, newly revised and updated. Again, Roger E. Moore. That's the article that was mentioned on the cover as being containing new content, and that's looks to be a fairly lengthy piece. And that's really it for this issue. Overview, it looks fairly dry. I think there's some interesting things in there. Sorry, she's just started licking my hand. But I think worth reading, essentially, to capture sort of like the period of the early ages for Dragon, and also sort of like some of the issues that were being addressed, and because obviously it's a very mechanical kind of focused issue, talking about particular aspects of the game, and I said aspects that were talked about again and again. But yeah, I will review this in due course. I'm interested to see read into it in more depth. So as I say, it's the last one they did. It was very D&D focused. The first couple had some content from other games from TSR, but essentially AD&D is really this is what this is all about. So anyway, thank you very much for watching another unboxing in the Nook. If you've enjoyed this, please do click the like button down below. And if you have any comments or feedback, I appreciate you posting those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a nice hot cup of tea, and sometimes a cat who is not ours, and a parcel from which I will extract, I will unbox something and talk about it to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, then please do hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching. We're back again soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.